and welcome to Have a Chat. I'm your host today, Veronique Arsenault, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Judy Losier.
Hi, Veronique. Welcome to this wonderful day.
Yes, I'm so excited. I love the fall. The weather is fantastic, and it gets
Yes.
dark too early for me, but I love the crispness in the mornings and the beautiful sun during the day.
Me too. We've been having a great fall so far.
Yeah, so far,
Nice.
so far. So today we're going to kick off the show with a wonderful quote from you, Judy. You're in charge of the quoteness today. So I'll turn it over to you
Okay.
for that.
Sure. And usually we try to keep it short and sweet, but I just picked up this one that I thought was too nice not to share. So I'll just go with it. It
Yeah.
is who chose who? Anger didn't choose you. You chose to be angry. Attachment didn't choose you. You chose attachment. Stress didn't choose you. You chose to be stressed. Boredom didn't choose you. You chose to be bored. Just like them, you can choose to be happy. You can choose to be free. You can choose to be motivated. You can choose to be strong. Choice is yours. You are the host. You are the one to invite them. They are just guests who come by your invitation. So invite someone who doesn't destroy your inner home, your heart, and your mind. I thought that was pretty positive.
That's amazing, and you're right. It's hard to remember when you're in the heat of that moment that you're choosing to allow it to affect you in that way. Like, if you're angry or, and I mean, sometimes, like, it's a little different with sadness. It just comes, sometimes, but you're very right, Judy. I love that quote because you can make that choice to be happier. You can make that choice to look at it a different way, or to let go, or work on letting go, I
Mhm.
should say.
Yeah, and just interestingly enough, I had like a muscle spasm in my back this week. It was the entire week, and it was so bad that I thought, "What is going on? Is it the weather? Is it
Mm.
stress? Is it mechanical? What is it?" It was unbearable. So I went to the physiotherapist actually just a day ago, and she said, "You know what?" She said, "That, in my opinion, is a stress ball, and it's all manifested in one spot, your weak spot of your back." But she said, "You can learn how to undo that by doing nothing but trying to relax and breathe and put your mind somewhere calm." And you know what, Veronique? She told me to get one of those little machines, which I had anyway, that have the beach sounds or,
Oh yeah.
nice quiet bird sounds, something and she just told me to breathe and did nothing. She just taught me how to kind of let it go. And that muscle knot softened and softened and softened. And so it's just good for anyone that's listening, because we all go through stress, obviously, that it doesn't have to be something wrong that's seriously wrong with your body. It could just be that ball of locked in tightness from whatever's going on wrong in your life. And it could be something joyful too, because energy that's joy still causes you to become excited, so everything fires up. And I
Mhm.
thought you could only get stressed from being upset or angry or worried, but no, she said you can get it from really joyful things too, because your excitement level is up a few notches higher. So I digested that information, and I just want to tell people, if they're going through that, just to take time, lie in your bed, listen to some good music, some relaxing sounds, and just breathe. That's my message.
I love that. And I never thought of it that way, because I always think of, those stress balls in my neck or in my shoulders, but yeah, I never even thought of stress in
No.
in my back. Yeah, because those are muscles, right? So
And
they
letting it
clench up.
work out. Yeah, exactly. So it's just tightness that can be released, not overnight or not in 5 minutes, but by training yourself to teach it to mellow out. Tell your body to
Yeah,
chill.
no. I
There
need to
we
learn
go.
that. I absolutely need to learn
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I am
we
not
all
good
do.
at chilling. I'm not good at chilling my mind or my body.
No, nor am
That's
I.
that's awesome. No, that's awesome. So it's been a busy few weeks for us, as a
Woo!
family and in the community and just in general. But you and I, on Thanksgiving weekend, had quite the whirlwind weekend, and
We
attended just a really beautiful event. And it was my little cousin. I say little because she's not, but like she's tiny, but she's not a child anymore. But Mia Loge got married on Thanksgiving weekend to Kian Tobin, your beautiful niece, my wonderful cousin. And what a stunning weekend that
Well, I mean, I've seen many brides, and all brides are beautiful. In my opinion, I have not seen an unattractive bride. They're at their very finest. But she was out of this world, I thought. I really did. I'm not just saying it, but oh, it was fairy tale like, and she didn't have to try. She just was. And because of the restrictions on and the numbers being capped at 50 and social distancing, it was an unusual time, but it was very special because it was intimate. And sometimes when you have an intimate wedding like that, people get closer. The conversation, even from a distance, is closer because you have less people to try to work the room with, right? From top to finish, it was a gorgeous day. Everything went off so well. And I love watching the love between two people so much as they join hearts forever, because we know that marriages don't always last the first time. People have been married 3, 4, 5 times, but these two people have been going out for many years, and they knew they were the right one for each other. So I was in love with the wedding. Let's put it that way. Yes.
Yeah, and I felt much the same. It was a smaller, intimate wedding, as you said, because of the restrictions right now, and I'm sure it must have been very difficult for Mia and Michael and Beth, her parents, to plan
Mm,
it, and to
yeah.
replan it and to replan it and to replan it. But it was, it every detail was thought of, and as a guest at the
Mhm.
wedding, it just felt so wonderful and warm and inviting. So yeah, I was really happy to be there, and
Yes.
enjoy the time with them.
And you looked beautiful too. You looked absolutely beautiful, Veronique. You
Thank you.
did.
So did you, Judy. For me, to be honest with you, I went like full glam because I was like, well,
Yes.
you know what? We might not have a whole lot of events to go to in the next little while.
I
And so I was
know.
going to take
Yes.
advantage of it.
Well, it's certainly you just were the belle. So there. Lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it also was
It was a
Thanksgiving
busy
weekend.
weekend.
So it was, and I enjoyed some great time with my family. I cooked the turkey on the Monday, and it turned out really good, so I was happy. It was edible at
I
least, and
bet.
so well, most people don't know. It's funny because of course I owned a restaurant, right? But most people know that or don't know that I don't cook. I
Oh,
can cook, I just don't enjoy cooking. But
mm,
anyway, so I've become oddly proficient at making turkey dinner.
good. I'll be right
Yeah,
over.
anytime, anytime.
I love
Yeah, but
Thanksgiving. We were
it was a good
married on
weekend.
Thanksgiving too. So Thanksgiving for me has always been special. We were married 32 years ago as of October 8th of this year. And so that's a big day for us. But my son was home for the wedding from Halifax, and I was very, very happy to have him home too because of COVID. We have not seen a lot of him. He had special bonding time with Jansen, who's around right now too. So the two brothers were able to spend time and see family and yourself and your family. And Thanksgiving's just we should have more appreciation and be grateful and not just have it that one day and make a big, deal of it. We should have Thanksgiving every day. And I actually do get up every morning and say, thank you for this day and for everything in it. And at the end of the day, I say the same thing. I go through all of my blessings. I count all of my good fortunes, and I just ask for strength to cope with the things that don't go my way, because we all have those issues that nothing in life is ever perfect. But when we stop and think of the troubles people have and the situations that people are in, oh my gosh, do I ever feel blessed on most days? I'm telling you, Veronique.
Oh, you know what? And I totally agree with you, Judy. It's funny. I often hear this, and I know that you hear the same. Oh, you're so positive. Like, doesn't anything, don't you have, do you just do that for the camera, or do you just do that on Facebook? And I'm like, no, actually, this is pretty much me most of the time. I mean, I do have those moments, of course. And, we all have, but, I try really hard, and there was a period of time where I wasn't able to do it very much, but I try really hard to
No.
find those wonderful blessings in my life, and to be thankful for them, and to
Mhm.
and to enjoy life. I I love that I get to make all these experiences and meet all these people, and just kind of do some interesting things. And also, I love those quiet moments where I get to sit and talk to you, or I talk to, my friends or my family, or whatever it may be, and just have those memories that that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my days. So, and I know you're the same. I'm pretty positive, a good 96% of the time.
Yeah, I wear yellow, baby. I'm
I'm with
Dark-Days,
you.
I haul the sweater on. I mean, I like to put a hoodie over my head once in a while, but for the most part, I'm not a moody person. That's one thing I'm not, and I kind of take offense to people that are really moody because I'm not, so I can't relate to that. Like, nice to you one
Mm,
day, and oh hi, how are you? And the next day they look at you, it's like, who are you? I just don't get it, but who am I to say what they're going through too, right? People have mood swings, and that's just part of people's personalities. I'm just blessed that I don't have a moody disposition. But
yeah.
I just, like I said, it's been a real whirlwind for me, Veronique, the last couple of weeks with the wedding and Thanksgiving. And then I lost my very, very special, cherished friend of 55 years that was like a sister to me. And just getting through that took every bit of heart and soul to get through it and to support the family that I love so much that she belonged to. And to lose her as not just a friend, but as a neighbor since I was 6 years old. Um, there's people in your life that you're just so grateful to have had. And she's just one of those people. And I've had many, but when I think of her, I smile. And so through all of my tears, they were happy tears of memories. And why do you cry? You cry because you love that person. You're not crying for any other reason, but that you miss them and love them. It's not like you ever want to see them gone. So you're crying in
No.
their memory. And so I had to really kind of brace myself to get it all out in one big sobbing, ugly cry day before I could go to the sisters and other family members because I had to pull myself together. Who wants to go spend time with someone who is crying and making you feel more sad than you already are? And then we
Mhm.
turned the sadness into laughter and memories of her. And I said, wouldn't she love this? Wouldn't she love to be in this room laughing with us like she always did? And it turned into be a celebration of her life right in that very room that we were earlier having, hugs and tears in. I think that's what we
Yeah.
have to do in life is just kind of tune into the emotional stuff, but then tune into the really upbeat emotional stuff too.
Yeah, and you're right, and I know who you were talking about, and she was such a wonderful wonderful lady, and from a wonderful family that we've come to know over the years as well. But it's hard, right? Because you don't know what to say, you don't know how to comfort, you don't know how to be there for people in their grief. And so we had Robert Fernett on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was able to give us some coping mechanisms, some ways for us to help support our friends and family in grief. And we are so thankful for that. But it's such a tough thing to do because you just never know what to say, right? And how to be there for someone in the right way. But really, I think it's just being there, no matter what you do or say, as long as they know that you're there.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
So, Judy, there's an event coming up, and you've got all the details. So I'll get you to share that right now.
Yes, I will, Veronique. For the viewers, the annual War Memories in Song dinner concert will be replaced by a takeout dinner Sunday, November 8th. Pickup time is between 3 to 6 p.m. at the Beaverbrook Kin Center, which is on the square in Newcastle. Tickets are going very well for this Remembrance Day fundraiser, and only 200 tickets are going to be sold in advance, so you better get onto it. All tickets must be ordered and paid for in advance uh, on or before October 30th. Call 622-1780, and the menu caters to all diets, whether it's regular, gluten-free, vegetarian, or diabetic. It's a stuffed chicken breast, potato, vegetable gravy, roll, cranberries, and dessert. And so please, we want you to please support this major fundraiser for the 64th Miramichi Folk Song Festival. They've had no incoming funds, so it's really important that with their bills to be paid that you kind of pitch in and pick up your takeout dinner. So thank you. We look forward to supporting this.
Just before we head to break, we'll talk quickly about the fact, of course, that it would appear that the second wave of the COVID-19 virus has hit Canada. Although we have managed to stay fairly low numbers for for COVID in general here in the province. Although we are seeing a surge, we're seeing a couple of clusters, they're calling them, or outbreaks in a couple of
Mhm.
parts of the province. And we want to send our love, and support to those areas that are being more affected right now. We can't even imagine, we know it's difficult. We lived through, the initial phase, of course, but to have to go back down now would be, more difficult, I'm sure. So our thoughts are with them, and
Mm-hmm.
we're sending our love and
Mm-hmm.
support for sure. But here we are, Judy, back in COVID times.
And not to let your guard down, folks. That's a big thing. Just pretend that we are going to be affected by an outbreak, and think of it as being around everyone and everyone that could be exposed to it and passing it on. That's how I look at it. Who might have been where, what. Keep your distance, your social distance. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. I don't care what anyone says. Wear that mask, and please be safe.
My biggest thing is that I will always, always take the recommendations of the 4 generations of doctors that we've got in our family, and one of those is mask wearing, absolutely. But the other thing is that, let's be realistic here, and I'm not trying to preach on this, but let's say that masks don't work in the long run, and the experts were wrong on that. Then all we've done is wear some, I said this the other day on social media, some questionable fashion choices. But you know what? I lived through the 80s. I was a teenager in the 80s, so I made questionable fashion choices all my life. But if they're right, then I've done what I can to keep the people around me safe and healthy, and that's the most important thing for me. So whatever your views may be on that, um, I think we really need to take into account it's not just about us. It's about the people
No,
around us that we love, and it's about the
that's
people that we
right.
don't even know. And even if I don't know you, I want to keep you safe. So I'm going to
Right.
do what I think is best, and for me, that's wearing a mask and washing my hands, which should be a given for pretty much all of us anyway. The whole hand
Exactly.
washing thing I'm talking about. But
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, we want to make sure that we're doing that. And but we're going to go to break now in a couple of seconds. So we want to make sure that you come back. We have 2 incredible guests that are going to join us right after the break, and they're going to share their stories. They're 2 incredibly brave women who have agreed to come and talk to us today. And so don't go too far. I know that you want to tune in. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I am your host, Veronique Arsenault, and I am joined by my ever wonderful, always lovely co host, Judy Losier.
Thanks, Veronique, and the same to you. Nice to pick each other up in these dark days.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely need the world kind of is spinning out of control. It feels like a little bit, so it's nice to have some kind words from some close loves, right?
That's right.
And today we're actually talking about Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, which is the month of October. And we are joined by 2 wonderful women that we really wanted to make sure that we had on this month and to talk about the topic. It's a tough topic to talk about for sure. I think we all have had, if we haven't been affected ourselves, we've had friends and family who have lived through this as well. So we really want to thank both Melanie Maltby-Ingersoll and Sarah Sherrard for joining us today. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. Nice to have you
Thanks, Judy.
join us.
So I'll start with you, Melanie, if you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then I'll get Sarah to do the same.
Sure thing. So my name is Melanie Maltby-Ingersoll, and I'm a teacher for Anglophone North School District here in Miramichi. And I'm married to Sean Ingersoll, who has been my husband now for almost 20 years. And we have 3 beautiful daughters, Aiden, Phelan, and Kellen. And they're all here in Miramichi at Carrefour Beau Soleil, where they go to school. And then we also had 2 other children, Aaron and Seamus, a girl and a boy, who we lost back in 2007 and in 2008. So that's why this month is pretty important to our family and to to a lot of people in the area. Surprisingly, you don't realize how many people are affected by it until you go through it yourself, and then people reach out to you, and then you continue the process too. And that's how Sarah and I met.
Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Sarah Sherrard. I'm from the Miramichi, the outskirts of the Miramichi, I guess. I went to school and kind of grew up in the Sunny Corner area. After I graduated, I moved off to Fredericton to go to UNB, and I lived and worked there for a few years while I was obtaining my chartered accountant designation. But I always was homesick for Miramichi, so my husband and I decided to move back. We were married in 2014, so we've been married for 6 years, together for 10, and we had two beautiful babies together. Our angel baby, Sammy, who watches over us every day, and we have a 15-month-old daughter, Jillian, and she's our pure joy here on earth.
Yes, because Veronique, I don't know if you were away on business that day, but we did host these two ladies approximately 2 years ago. And it was such a serious topic. And again, today, it's very important, as you said, Vera, to get that word out, and Melanie and for Sarah to share their story, because it's been a very, very difficult journey with having pregnancies and then having the difficult journey of losing babies. So to begin with you, Melanie, I would like to ask you in more particular style about how things unfolded for you, your experience, and in particular, if you could just at some point focus to Edwards syndrome to explain to our viewers exactly what that would be.
So, as you mentioned, we had Aiden, the oldest child, or our daughter, who was on your show this summer, and that pregnancy was very normal and easy. And I had this perfect baby. So when I got pregnant about 2.5 years later, I was expecting the exact same thing. So yes, I was expecting to have another healthy baby, an easy pregnancy. And I mean, deliveries are never easy, but I was expecting everything else to go well. I went for my 20-week ultrasound, and the technician brought in Dr. McMillan eventually. So I knew something must have been pretty wrong for Dr. McMillan to come in the room. So from that moment on, my heart was in my throat for weeks because he was able then to share with me that there was something very wrong with my baby. I knew at that point that the child was never going to walk and that there was definitely something wrong with the brain, but I didn't know what was causing the problem and how exactly how severe it was going to be. So I was sent to Dr. Murphy Callbeck in Moncton about a week later, and she's what is called a maternal fetal care specialist at Moncton City Hospital. And it was Dr. Murphy Callbeck then she was very sure that the baby had Edwards syndrome, but I did an amniocentesis that day at her office or in her clinic, and we got the results back about 5 weeks later that the baby did in fact have Edwards syndrome, but the baby had already been born by that point and had passed away. So usually with Edwards syndrome, I shouldn't say usually, sometimes they survive birth, sometimes they don't. And most children with Edwards syndrome don't live terribly long. Some will make it to their first birthday. But no matter what, Edwards syndrome is a lethal chromosomal disorder for the most part. And there are very serious physical defects, and almost every organ system in the body is affected by the syndrome. So like, for example, Erin, that was a little girl that I had in 2007. She had clubbed feet. She had spina bifida. Her ears were not in the right place. Her hands, the telltale sign with Edwards syndrome is the hands are clenched and the fingers are kind of crossed over. Their hands don't work. They don't open. They don't move. So that was our situation with her. Yeah. And another name for Edwards syndrome is trisomy 18. It's a trisomy. So Down syndrome is the most common trisomy, which is trisomy 21. There's an extra chromosome on the 21st pair of chromosomes. My babies had an extra chromosome on the 18th pair. There's also trisomy 13, which is known as Patau syndrome. So mine were trisomy 18. So a year later, the exact same thing happened to us again with a boy, Seamus, and he lived an hour. at his birth.
God, Melanie, like just speaking before Sarah does, speaking to you, I, as a mom that's never gone through these experiences, I have a whole new appreciation for you two women. I could never walk your walk because I couldn't talk as you are now to this, but my heart just pounds thinking about it because we're always fearful of the worst thing happening. And for you and Sarah, the worst thing did happen. So again, I think it's so important to reach out to people and tell your story, and for Sarah as well to talk about it now.
In 2016, my husband and Luke and I were expecting our first child together. I went to the hospital with labor pains at 39 weeks pregnant, and I had a normal pregnancy up until that point. There was nothing that came up in my ultrasounds, no worries really, other than normal pregnancy worries that you have as a mom. When I arrived at the hospital, they hooked me up to the monitors. Very routine process when you arrive with labor pains. And 4 words, there is no heartbeat. Like my whole life and time just stopped in that moment. So I went on 22 and a half hours of labor after that, knowing that I was going to be delivering a baby that I would not be taking home. In the end, I had to have a C-section. We had a boy. We named him Sammy. And we had an autopsy done on him, and we never found out, nothing came back, no conclusive results, nothing as to why we lost him. So we have no answers. And that's hard to live with, the no answers. After that, we got pregnant again a year and a half later, and I had an early miscarriage. So pregnancy has not been so innocent for me like it is for other women.
No, it's hard enough just to get, to go through the everyday routine sickness, or if some people have that, or just, other little issues or swelling or whatever, but to go through something like that and such a huge loss, magnificent loss is almost unspeakable, but you're talking about it really openly, and we appreciate that.
Yes. Well, and I find you both amazing to have gone through that, both of you, and to continue to hope to have children and to have children, other children. Like I find that amazing. I find you both incredible.
Well, we're not the only ones that have been through it, that's for sure.
That's true.
I always say I was selfish as well, because I had a plan, and a one-child family wasn't my plan. I always wanted at least 2 children, and I didn't want Aiden to be an only child, and so that's why I kept going. I wanted my plan to follow through. I mean, definitely we had the conversation with Dr. Murphy Callbeck after we had the second child with trisomy 18 or Edwards syndrome, because the chances of that are very, very slim. At the time, I was told it was 1 in 3 million that I would have 2 in a row. And so we started buying lottery tickets after that. But we did have that conversation, should we get tested? And we did. We had genetics testing done. Both Sean and I had to be tested because it can come from the male or the female. But we, genetically speaking, we were fine. So we continued, and then we had 2 more successful pregnancies.
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
Resilient women. Yeah. Yes.
That's a great word. Yeah.
Stubborn.
Yeah. Stubborn. Yes.
Yeah. And I can
Hopeful.
understand that as well. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about those emotions that you go through. Melanie, I'll start with you again. Like, what kind of emotions do you go through, and how do you process those?
It was just surreal, like in that moment of coming home from the hospital. So with the first pregnancy where Dr. McMillan had come into the ultrasound, my husband wasn't with me that day. So he was so kind to me because he explained everything to me the first time, and I didn't absorb it at all. And I wasn't sitting there and sobbing and crying or anything. I was just in shock. And I looked at him and I said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to get you to explain that to me again, because I'm going to have to explain this to my husband when I get home. And he was very patient and kind, and he said, no problem. And he explained it all again. And then I repeated it back. And, I needed to be sure that I had these details correct, because this is a moment that is just changing the course of your life. And you're about to change somebody else's life when you get home too.
Mhm.
So then we come home and I sit down and I tell my husband, this is what's going on with our baby. And already I'm making plans in my head, because I was told the baby was never going to walk. So I'm like, we'll build a wheelchair ramp and we will make our house wheelchair
Oh,
accessible. And like already, I think the brain just has to cope somehow. So I was already
Yeah.
like planning renovations.
Yeah.
oh,
Crazy.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's such
Yeah.
an educator way that you tried to process that by, getting him to explain to you again and then repeating it back to him. I see
Mhm.
the inborn educator in you trying to process that information for
That's
yourself.
very true. Very true.
Yeah. I know for
Sarah.
myself, I
Yeah.
was I was just so filled with anger, just so angry. And the only way that I really got through that was through counseling. So that would be one of my biggest suggestions to any bereaved mother or father, to seek out help, because grief is a long journey, and you need that support.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
Yeah.
Melanie, you want to talk about that? And again, we're talking about the emotional roller coaster, basically a nightmare that you both went through when it's all said and done. Life is such an important thing, and you were so excited to have these babies that didn't get to enjoy life or you to enjoy them. So, yeah, what did you do as far as I know you have an amazing husband and family circle and friends, but as far as another network of support, did you turn to other support then or now? What has been happening with that?
I was just going to comment on that for sure. I was happy. I don't think I knew, Sarah, that you had gone to counseling, or maybe I'm not sure. I can't remember. At the time that everything was happening with me, I didn't. And I was actually kind of offended when it was suggested that I go. And my initial reaction was, I'm not crazy. Like yes, my baby died, but I'm not crazy. And people were like, oh, we're not saying you're crazy, but you should probably go talk to somebody about it. And I'm like, I'm fine.
Mhm,
And I was just so
mhm.
focused on my goal. So I had another baby in 2008. So that was Seamus, who also passed away from Edwards syndrome. And then I had Phelan in 2009, and Kellen was due New Year's Eve of 2010, but she held on till January 7th of 2011. So I had four babies just back to back to back to back. And then all of a sudden by 2011, I now have three children who were 5, 1, and newborn, because Phelan and Kellen are only 15 months apart, because I had my mission, I had my goal. I was trying to get my babies. And before
Yeah.
I knew it, I had gotten myself into such a deep hole of not dealing with anything, and being so busy. And I'm one who throws myself into my work. And this time last year, about 13 months ago, a year ago in September, it all kind of came crashing down one day at work. And luckily, I had a coworker who noticed and said, "You just don't seem yourself." And I said, "I am not. I can hardly think." At the time, my job was in French, and I couldn't actually read the words in front of me, and I couldn't think, and I couldn't write. And it was just like my brain was shutting down. It was all too much. So luckily, that friend had the therapist that I now go to and suggested him to me. And he's been on your show, Robert Furnett, and he is
Oh,
amazing. I
he's
hope he, I hope he doesn't mind me
oh,
saying that.
oh,
Yeah.
we love him. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's one of the
So
I've been
he's
telling
helped you a
people,
lot.
one of the best things. And it's funny, well, not funny, but it's interesting that it's been 13 and 12 years since I had my babies, but that's still one of the main things that I need to talk about. You think you would get better, or that things would get better sooner, but it just lingers. It's never ever going to go away.
No, because you keep picturing these events that are coming up and what year they would be turning, like 13 or like having a celebration of, with your family for Father's Day and Christmas time with them and what they'd look like. And it's also normal
Mhm.
to try to look into their future, graduation, all of it. It's just it's always there. Like grieving, we said to the therapist in our show, it some people have that raw grieving stage for years, like maybe 2 to 3 years of just they can't get out of bed. And then some people just it softens a little bit, but there's always going to be a grieving as such, which you
Mhm.
just so well explained. And
One
Sarah,
thing,
yeah,
sorry, Judy, one thing that I wanted to mention that was told to be my counselor is it's important that you weave them into the fabric of your life. So celebrate those milestones, put their pictures up in your house. My family and I, we do a annual pumpkin carving where we all get together, we carve pumpkins and we bring them up to his grave, my son's grave, and we have them lit for Halloween. It's so important that they become a part of your everyday life. That's how you get through that grief. And it's
that's
so heartwarming right now. My daughter's kind of at the age where she's trying to repeat what we say, and she's trying to repeat the name Sammy, and she's going to know him and she's going to love him.
Just in the last 2 minutes that we have before break, I'll ask you, Melanie, and then you, Sarah. Um, what was the best piece of advice that someone gave you when you were, even if it's from Robert or whatever, but that helped you?
How am I going to explain this to my daughter? Because a lot of times in these situations, you have other children. The best advice I got from that process was just answer her questions, wait for her to ask, don't bring it up, let her bring it up. And when she does, just answer her questions honestly, and she'll be fine. She'll be okay. And it was true.
Mhm.
Amazing. For you, Sarah?
Um, I think really what I just touched on is
Yeah.
to include them in your life, really, and include them, talk about them. Don't be scared to talk about them, um,
Mm,
because they were a part of your life for however short their lives were here. They still mattered, and
yeah.
that really helped me through my grieving process.
Our viewers at home are not going to want to go too far. So do grab a coffee, add some extra pumpkin spice to it. Grab a comfy blanket and come on back after the break. We've got more with these incredible women, and we're looking forward to continuing that conversation. So come on back after the break. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I am your host today, Veronique Arsenault, joined by my wonderful, beautiful, stunningly amazing co-host, Judy Losier.
Sorry, I haven't laughed all day, really. So this is good. Thanks for that reprieve,
Well,
Veronique.
I love you. I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. I think you're hilarious. But thanks. So, yeah, we're joined by our incredible Melanie Maltby-Ingersoll and Sarah Sherrard, who are here to talk about a very somber yet very educational topic, pregnancy and infancy loss, which it happens to be Awareness Month for that. And if you're just tuning in, they're very open and honest and forthcoming about their experiences. But it's very sad what they've told us so far, and yet there's some silver lining there. Sarah, you did not expect on our last show, which was like some time ago now, over 2 years probably, or whatever, maybe not that
Two
long,
two
but
years ago,
about
actually. Now,
it was 2 years ago.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and you were talking about your losses, and you were very, very sad. I recall in that show. But since then, you have a beautiful little baby girl who is 1 years old.
She's 15 months.
Wow.
So she's really she's going full speed and into everything, and a joy. But so
Yeah.
just because it's a very I guess a normal question, how did you feel when you found out that you were pregnant? And did you go through the same, even though you were getting regular checkups from your gynae or family doc, did you go through the same terrifying, oh my gosh, what ifs a lot of the time? But I want to hear about the joyful experience of having this little girl first.
So, just to give you a little backstory, my husband and I, we were struggling after we had Sammy to get pregnant. So we kind of thought that another pregnancy was not, in our future. we were going to the fertility clinic in Moncton called Conceptia. And I was
Mhm.
just gearing up to get some of their preliminary testing done. And lo and behold, I found out I was pregnant. We were all on our own. So we were shocked and surprised. So many different emotions, nervous, fearful. Um, the worrying throughout the 9 months just never ended. Like, to
Oh.
be honest, I was very highly educated in everything that could possibly go wrong, which I think is normal given our history.
Hmm.
The
Mhm.
doctor that I had was great, though. He calmed my nerves, eased them a lot. He did extra testing. He made the pregnancy much smoother for me. Um, and I thought that once Jilly arrived, that all of those fears would just fly out the window, and they didn't. When you have a child come home, there's a whole other set of worries and fears that start to develop that I never really realized until we had Jilly. But that's not to take away from the joy, because she is a true joy in our life. Can't imagine our lives without her now. She's just incredible.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful little doll. So
Yes.
congratulations
Yeah.
on that extremely happy occasion,
Mm.
and
Yes. Thank
blessings
you.
to you all.
Yes. Thanks.
Melanie, how
What
about
about
you?
Yeah, Melanie.
Uh,
As far
like,
as your worries went, and yeah,
oh, right. Yes.
celebrations, worries.
I remember, uh, I guess I should go back a little bit to Seamus too, because like I didn't think anything was going to happen again. And so I actually wasn't very worried when I got pregnant for him. I just didn't think that I would ever have two babies with the same syndrome back to back.
Mhm.
They were only 13 months apart when you look at their birthdays. But I had to go for an ultrasound when I was 12 weeks pregnant for him in Moncton with the specialist. And I just thought, yeah, we'll go and we'll have this ultrasound and everything's going to be fine. And she started actually, while she was doing the ultrasound, she started kind of sighing and making kind of some frustrated sounds. And she said, "I'm sorry, but your baby has a syndrome." It's just like, what? It was one of the, I think, yeah, definitely one of the most shocking moments. I just couldn't believe it. And at that stage of the game, they can't tell you what syndrome the baby has, just that it has a syndrome. And you have to wait until at least 15 weeks of pregnancy to have an amniocentesis. So I went back at 15 weeks to have that done. But because of the syndrome, the conditions were not right. It was going to be an automatic miscarriage if I had the amnio that day. So I had to go home again and wait for 3 or 4 more weeks and go back again and see, could I have an amnio that day, and try and figure out what was wrong with this pregnancy. So that time from 12 weeks on with that pregnancy, I was just in my own little world of worry and, trying to reason, it might not be trisomy 18. It might be something that's not lethal. It might be something that the child can live with. But then, it could have been Down syndrome. So, then you're looking at having a child with Down syndrome then. But there was just so much doubt. It was really, really hard on the head until we finally had an answer.
Yeah.
Then after that, once I got pregnant with Phelan, the next one, who was born in 2009, I remember being okay. I actually did not go for the 12-week appointment. I wouldn't go. I didn't want to know if the baby had a syndrome. I just wanted to enjoy my pregnancy. So I wouldn't actually go to Moncton until I think I was 18 weeks pregnant, and I wouldn't do any of the blood serum testing. There's all these different blood tests you can have done as well. And I refused everything. I was like, nope, I'm just going to be pregnant for right now, and I'm just going to enjoy it. But then when I had the ultrasound for her in Moncton, they weren't 100% sure that her heart was okay. So that was another, I think it took till about 26, 27 weeks for the doctor to what they call clear the heart. They call it clearing the organs. So they only cleared her heart basically in the 3rd trimester, somewhere around there. So that was nerve wracking. And then poor little Kellen, the last one, everything was fine with her from day one. I didn't do the 12-week ultrasound. I didn't do the blood serum testing. I never did any of that stuff again because it's too hard on the head for me. And I just try and enjoy things as much as I can. But then Kellen, everything was always fine, thank God. And she was my biggest baby of them all at the end, almost 9 pounds.
My So
Mhm.
celebrations at the end for all of you girls, although you went through so much
Yeah.
grief and fear and terrifying moments, it like, you're so well rewarded today, really. And so I'm so thankful to be able to have our viewers and all of us hear this from both of you wonderful moms.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
amazing. Um, so from a friend perspective, I guess I'm going to ask this question. Um, so we all, pretty much everybody I know has either had friends or family or themselves gone through infant loss and pregnancy. And but as a friend, what what would be the best way to support um, you know someone going through this? Like it's I just I it's funny because I have family members who have lost adult children and friends and things like that. And for some reason, I was better able to be that support person. And we still talk about the person that's gone, but I haven't done the same with my friends who have lost, who have miscarried or lost a child. But what's the best way for
Hmm.
us to support you?
Um, I know for me personally, talking about talking about their child is just so important. A lot of people have this idea in their mind that when they bring up their child, that they're making them sad, but you cannot possibly make them any more sad than what they are. What you're doing is you're reminding them that their child existed, and that's all that you
Yeah,
really can do for them, right?
yeah,
That's my
that's
take on it.
right.
I love to talk about my son. I love to share him with people, and I think that's, as a friend or family member, just talking about them and letting them know that yes, I remember that you had that baby and your child matters to me. That it just goes a long way.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Melanie,
And how
for
do you
And
you?
feel, Mel? Yeah.
for me, I found people kind of left me alone too. And I've mentioned this before. Like have never felt so lonely in my life. And for me, it was don't leave me alone. Keep talking to me, visit me. Even my husband thought he was doing me a favor by taking my daughter to the park one day and leaving me by
Mhm.
myself at the house. And I, it, I told him, don't do that again. I can't handle being alone.
Yeah,
I don't
Mm,
like it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
even if you'd like, I know some people will say they don't feel comfortable talking about it themselves. And I mean, everybody has to do what's best for them and what they feel comfortable with. But just being there for the friend and not ignoring them or thinking that they need space because maybe they don't need space. So at least checking in on them and saying, like, would you be up for a visit or would you rather be by yourself? And in my case, I would have been,
Mhm.
yes, please come over. I
Hmm.
don't want to be alone
Hmm.
right now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
No,
yeah.
I love what you're both saying because my cousin actually lost, I think it was two or three babies due to a syndrome that it won't come to my tongue at this moment. But I often say to her, I still pray for those little girls and wish them, happy times in heaven. I think of you and your husband all the time. That means so much to me because even though our daughter is 29 or 30 now, those children are still such a part of my life. And she just lights up when I say that I remember them
Yeah.
and not remember them, but remember her pregnancies and the loss,
Hmm.
but that they were little lives that she carried. And she's just like,
yeah.
it's just so special that I'm glad you brought that up, Veronique. It's a very important
Hmm.
point, and to hear the girls' perspectives on all of that. Really important. Sarah,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead, Vero.
Well, no, it's just we're so afraid to, and as you said, Sarah, to make people sad, right?
Mhm.
And we think that you've forgotten that
Mhm.
you were sad, and that if I bring it up as your friend, that all of a sudden I've taken that away from you and reminded you of that terrible thing. But your point is so valid, and I will remember that. You haven't forgotten.
Mm,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
really important.
Exactly.
Important part of
Yeah.
the conversation, that is for sure.
Yeah.
You,
Well,
I would like to
right.
ask you about, yeah, yeah, go ahead, Mel.
I was just gonna say right behind me, those are pictures of my
Oh,
children. They are still there. We see them every day. There's not a day that goes by that we don't think about our babies. It's just part of life.
Hmm.
That's
So,
it,
that's one of the biggest things when you lose a child is you're so terrified that people are going to forget them. And when you
Hmm.
talk about them, you're reminding them that, hey, I haven't forgotten. I remember your child.
No.
It's,
Mhm.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Sarah, what did you want to say just quickly about coddle cots and molly bears? I know we don't have much time, but I'd like you to talk about it for a sec.
Yeah, so just quickly, my husband and I were, after we lost Sammy, we were looking for a way to keep his memory alive, but also to help other bereaved parents. So we stumbled across cuddle cots, and we have donated one to the Miramichi Hospital and one to the Fredericton Hospital, just through fundraising on our own. What a cuddle cot does is it allows the baby, a baby that has passed, to stay in the hospital room with the parents for as long as they wish. It keeps the baby's body cool and prevents them from having to take the baby to the morgue. Time is so important in those moments after you lose a child. It gives them time to hold their child, dress them, take pictures of them to remember them by, even have other family come in to visit and know their child. So that's what a cuddle cot does. And our hospital here in Miramichi has one, and it's a pretty cool thing to have.
That's awesome.
The other thing,
yeah.
the other thing I wanted to touch on was Molly Bears. Molly Bears is an organization that custom makes bears that weigh what your child weighed. They send them out. They come from the US, but they send them out all over the world. I wanted to bring that up to your viewers, that if anyone out there is a bereaved mother or father, they can apply for a bear online at mollybears.org. They open their forms up at the end of every month. And, your arms ache when you don't bring home a child, and it gives you something to hold. We really treasure our Molly Bear.
Beautiful. Well, I want
Yeah.
to thank both of you for joining us today. I want to thank both of you for being so open and brave, to be honest. And we are really grateful for you educating us and for sharing your stories and for being willing to be there for other parents as they sadly go through the same, but also hope to find some joy, on the other side. So a huge thank you to you both.
Thank you for
No
having
problem
us.
at all.
Thank you, girls.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And to all of our
also-
viewers,
Bye-bye.
we'll see you all next week, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and do some great things for people, whether they be big or small. Do a small kind act for somebody out there today. Thanks, everybody.